Welcome back to New Rockstars, I'm Erik Voss, and perhaps the most upsetting reveal in Loki Episode 1 was that Loki's glorious purpose of the Infinity Stones was only worth its weight in paperweight. The Infinity Stones weren't just Loki's obsession, they were the crucial namesake of Marvel's entire Infinity Saga, sought after by Thanos, the Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, Asgardians, and Sorcerers. Black Widow died and risked making her long-awaited solo film less relevant to get one of these paperweights. So did Iron Man and Thanos, Black Widow, Gamora, Vision, Sacred Timeline Loki, Heimdall, and Loki's arm really die for nothing if the TVA has a drawer full of duplicate Infinity Stones sliding around loose with the silverware? No! I am here to tell you that these stones weren't just to rattle Loki's pride, and certainly not to make a joke out of the Infinity Saga, but as key symbols explaining how the TVA operates in relationship with the rest of the MCU. The first episode of Loki does such a good job reverting Loki's character development to that villainous pride and ambition that defined him back in the first Avengers film. Like, notice how immediately after scooping the Avengers and escaping to Mongolia, the first thing he does is to try to assert dominance to these random villagers.
I am Loki of Asgard, and I am burdened with glorious purpose.
These same words this guy had just uttered to Nick Fury when he arrived to steal the Tesseract.
I am Loki of Asgard, and I am burdened with glorious purpose.
But by the end of this episode, that pride is shattered when Loki scrambles to retrieve the Tesseract, only to realize that in the TVA, Infinity Stones are a dime a dozen.
How do you have these?
Oh, we actually got a lot of those. Yeah, some of the guys use them as paperweights. Some of them.
But notice how Loki briefly palms a time stone, perhaps the stone he was most eager to acquire someday. Remember that. And then Loki mopes.
Is this the greatest power in the universe?
And then B-15 rushes in and erases all of these stones inside Casey's evidence cart as Loki gives up his glorious purpose, but not out of respect of the TVA's illogical laws, but really out of acceptance that the Infinity Stones are not the key to his glorious future that he thought they would be.
Even an Infinity Stone is useless here. The TVA is formidable.
But before we continue, thanks to Keeps for sponsoring this video. Losing your hair can be a bummer. 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they're 35. I know guys in my life that are really stressed out about it, but with Keeps, it's easier and more affordable to get treatment for your hair loss and help you keep the hair that you have. Keeps offers generic versions of the only 2 FDA-approved hair loss products out there, but at half the cost of your local pharmacy. Though you'll never have to go into a doctor's office, with Keeps you get 24/7 access to a doctor who designs the best plan for you. They offer other helpful tools and services, including a tracking tool so you can monitor your progress. Find out why Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors, and nearly 100,000 men trust Keeps for their hair loss prevention medication. So if you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/newrockstars or click the link in the description to receive 50% off your first order. That's keeps.com/newrockstars. So as Loki asks, how did the TVA get these duplicate Infinity Stones? By Casey saying we get a lot of these, I think he's saying they confiscated these from past detained variants. Like, notice how the other items in the drawer include a French Medal of Honor and the most valuable baseball card in the world, and U92 theorized that the Oklahoma Nexus event was someone trying to get rich off oil. So really, I think the idea is that Infinity Stones are just one of many treasures that others before Loki have skewed from their sacred timeline to try to obtain. Now before, the Ancient Ones seemed to indicate that only Infinity Stone removal could create a branch timeline, but now, according to Miss Minutes, something as simple as checking in late to work could create a next event, which sounds nuts. And based on Rich Prick Martin, it sounds like individuals making the wrong choice happens all the time with all kinds of people. And each time it happens, the timekeepers sound the alarm, the TVA swoops in, they detain the variant, they prune the branch, and they erase that variant. But I think that also means they keep whatever loot that variant was after. And after doing this countless times, duplicate Infinity Stones have piled up. But how can multiple Infinity Stones exist in the same time and space? Like, by the look of it, it looks like we had 5 reality stones in there. Well, according to everything we had been told about the Infinity Stones, they seem to be these sacred constants that embodied elemental aspects of the universe: power, space, reality, soul, time, and mind. And together, they maintained the proper flow of time. So much so that the Endgame directors had to clarify that when Thanos used the stones to destroy the stones were in fact atomized, so that their presence still exists in the universe, just incapable of being weaponized. So that also means that when the Avengers returned from the time heist with with those stolen Infinity Stones in the present, those stones were duplicates existing simultaneously in the present MCU with the atomized stone missed after Thanos' Garden Snap. So by that rule, multiple stone variants can coexist in a single place in time, so long as, before too long, those variants are returned. So does that make the Infinity Stones worthless? In the TVA, yes, but outside the TVA, hell no. Because the TVA exists outside the sacred timeline. It's in the null time zone. The end credits actually suggest it could be in some in-between space between some of the 9 realms. Everything the TVA detains and brings inside the TVA are variants of a prime equivalent in the sacred timeline, which goes on undisturbed. So when the TVA arrested Loki variant L1130, there still existed the original prime Loki in the sacred timeline, who went back with Thor to Asgard and went through the events of the Dark World and Ragnarok and Infinity War. But the moment this Loki picked up the Tesseract, he spawned a variant timeline, a variant Loki, a variant Tesseract. That didn't steal the Tesseract or steal the Loki out of the sacred timeline, those are still there. So when a variant Infinity Stones branch is pruned, the variant stone loses its power, its glow fades a bit. But when the Avengers stole variant stones from the past, those stones kept their power because those branches had not yet been pruned by Cap. Meanwhile, each of the stones here in the drawer were variant duds from other previously pruned branches. But despite these being duds, those 6 prime Infinity Stones remain in the sacred timeline, fully powered, waiting to be found and used by the Avengers and Thanos in the history we've seen, and then inevitably atomized by Thanos in the sacred timeline. So all of the sacrifices made by the Avengers, made by Thanos, are still every bit as meaningful, and the effects those stone uses left on the world still every bit as consequential. When Loki bemoans even an Infinity Stone is useless here, he's really using the stone as a metaphor for his own uselessness. But what Mobius is trying to get at is, this TVA confined powerlessness doesn't erase the other Loki in the sacred timeline. The reason why he makes Loki watch his favorite highlights is because there are lessons to be learned from that story. So the history of the Infinity Saga is not being erased by Loki, it's informing this next step. And the way that the TVA has to find a new purpose for variant Infinity Stones, be it paperweights or lining fish tanks despite not knowing what fish are, so too must variant Loki find a new glorious purpose. Meanwhile, let's remember Casey's words there.
Some of the guys use them as paperweights. Some of them.
Yeah, he's not just making a joke there. The end credits show a Mind Stone being used as a paperweight. So that also makes us wonder what he meant by some of them. Did someone else go rogue and use a variant Infinity Stone for some other purpose in the past? Theoretically, if you could track down one of these variant stones' source branch, and if that branch either wasn't fully pruned or if it were able to get reformed, that stone might reactivate if taken back to that branch. So let's keep in mind Loki fiddling with that time stone there. Now it sounded like it clunked back down in the drawer, but if he might have slightly pocketed it before B-15 erased that cart, the way he pocketed Mobius's time twister so sneakily, that time stone might come in handy someday. Hey, you can support this channel by checking out our new Loki-inspired merch options, like the shirt Loki Out of Time, by going to newrockstarsmerch.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EA Voss. Follow New Rockstars and subscribe to New Rockstars for Loki breakdowns. Thanks for watching. Bye.